I'm excited. So good. Sure, yeah, we should have some. I have a little. Somebody help pass out. You might have to share.
Want to share with Arm?
Yeah.
Mary, do you want one?
Yeah. And Wesley. Well, Earl's coming too, sure.
It's okay, it's right over there. And you're hanging in there? Day at a time. It's amazing how fast the months go. Yeah, it's how the open circle.
I look at it like, oh no, is it that time already?
Yeah. Although it still wasn't the 2-year summary, apparently. Well, he said he would send that. I said, well, have you talked to Judy Kelly? And he said, oh, you reminded me that he did put that in like the chalices after Mary Kay reads Bill Fingers. So you can just, you know?
Sadly so, yes.
What I'm remembering. Can you get by? I'll even move over.
Good deal. I try not to use them because it's good for your legs.
And we've got an agenda.
Good morning. Oh, thanks, Harry. Good morning. My name's Melody. I serve on your board of trustees. I'm currently in the vice president position. And welcome to the first town hall as we get ready for our congregational meeting. Today's town hall will address your questions and concerns about issues we'll vote on at the June 8th congregational meeting. We'll vote to accept the December 8th winter meeting minutes, and I think those are now available online. We'll have a report from the annual giving campaign co-chairs and our treasurer. We'll introduce 3 Board of Trustees candidates and the ministerial search team for congregational approval. We'll hear about the nominees for next church year's Share the Plate community partners. The congregational meeting will focus on business reports and celebrations, and there's no discussion or nominations from the floor, only reports and voting. And right now is when we are gonna be talking about all the things and having discussions and all that stuff. Any questions before we get started with our opening words and our chalice lighting? Okay, well, welcome. And let's have our town hall. Mary Kay.
Our opening words and our chalice lighting today are by Sherry Woodbury, Reverend Woodbury, who serves right down the road from us in Omaha. In our circle again. Here we are in our circle again, a circle of vision and reflection, a forum for deciding and empowering. Here we are at the base of another bridge, another space spanning the shores of today and tomorrow, beckoning us to cross the chasm one day at a time. Here we are gathered again at the cusp of the future, at the boundary that holds our community together. We are here in a circle of love and trust, brought to this moment by a series of choices and promises, by hope and by gratitude, by our own shadows faced and befriended. with a servant's heart and a leader's listening, with a parent's love, truer than all our inner trembling. Let us model the health we seek for all and lean into community. Somewhere out there, all we dream of is possible. Somewhere in here, we are sowing the seeds.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm Floyd Mickenkamp, Secretary of the Board of Trustees. I believe you all received a link to the copy of the minutes from the winter meeting online. It links you to the governance page. The minutes were proofed by Judy Hart and Mary Summermeyer in addition to myself. If there are any inconsistencies or corrections you think need to be made, please let me know. I'll get them done. So, thank you.
Hey, everybody. Think I have handed out one of these to everyone, but if you don't have one, let me know. Yes. So our spring meeting comes at the midpoint of our pledge year. When we meet in June for the spring meeting, we will be about 6 months into the 2025 budget and about 6 months from pledging for the 2026 budget. So that means at our last spring meeting, we were about 6 months into the 2024 budget and 6 months away from pledging to fund 2025. It's kind of goofy. But we've met some important financial milestones since we met last spring. We right-sized our staffing model. We revised our list of pledge households and our pledge process to refine it. We learned together as we completed the pledge drive for 2025. We approved the 2025 budget. We hired 3 people to fill newly defined positions in the church. Some pretty big financial milestones. Elle and I are here to talk with you about the pledge drive that we completed last fall, and just give you an update. So the pledge drive, we just want to say one thing, exceeded every mark we had hoped for, all of them. And we hope our slides today are going to help you see how we did this together as a community. And that's really one of our big take-homes from this and going forward, that this is how we do this as a community.
Okay, so we have already begun sowing the seeds of abundance. Remember that phrase. So we're sowing those seeds of abundance for our 2026 budget year, okay? Our treasurer informs us that as of April's accounting, we've collected $192,940 of promised 2025 pledges. Well done. That is 49.6% of our expected pledges, 33% of the way through the end of the year. Okay. Now, this is knowing that some folks pay their pledge first of the year and then they're done. Some will pay their pledge at the end of the year. But a lot of us pay it monthly throughout the year. So from what we are seeing, so far so good. Let's see here. Best way to illustrate the congregation's financial trajectory is to show you our past and our present pledge performance and give you a sneak peek of the future. We want you to feel well prepared for your pledge decisions. And so we're starting this a little earlier to get you thinking about it before we start actually making those commitments so that you can make financial decisions based on what you believe you would like to do for 2026's budget year. We want you to have some fun experiences while you're learning about what this is all going to entail. And so we want to begin a little earlier. Okay. Next slide, if you would. Okay. So that's, for me, it's a little small, but I'm just going to walk through this slide for you. The 2024 pledge drive for this year's budget was definitely a win for UCL in a lot of ways. We had 188 pledging households contributing to the drive for this year. Look at how many households increased or maintained their pledges. 109. That is amazing. Plus what?
If we count the maintainers, it's plus 59.
Plus 59 with the maintainers, yes. So I like to use the phrase that Christine shared with us last time we were talking with you all, is when we all give what we can, we all have what we need. Decreased and discontinued pledges were within normal and expected parameters. And the net increase across all pledges was more than $40,000 for this budget year. The net increase across the pledges averaged $363 per household. If you walked the pledge walk with us last time, you will know that for a decade previously, the average household was only increasing by $10 a year. We bumped that up to $363 per year. Big hand, big hand. And just a little bit of housekeeping for purposes of this presentation. Pledging households and households are going to be used interchangeably as we talk to you.
Okay, real quick, I need 4 people to come up. Just, it won't take long. Just 4 people. And this will be for, go ahead and advance the slide. So each of these 4 people represents a household that has agreed to provide 25% of our budget. That's $97,000. How do you feel? Look at Jillian's face. Look at her face. Okay. Nice to meet you, quartiles. That's what quartiles are. It's just what portion of us is covering 1/4 of our budget. Okay? Thank you, quartiles. Now, wait, one last thing. You're quartile 4. You're quartile 3. What happens when quartile 3 is offered a job in Alaska? They leave. Bye-bye.
They get
We
cold.
really appreciated you. We're going to miss you so much because 1/4 of our budget just went away. Okay? So, we're going to talk just a little bit about what this looks like in a church community, but I wanted you to kind of have just a visual of what a quartile is. It's just 1/4 of our budget. How many people are funding 1/4 of each of the quarters of our budget? Now you can sit back down. So thankfully, 4 households are not trying to provide for the financial needs of our church, right? So how do we provide for the financial needs of the church as a community? So there's 3 things I like to keep in mind as I think about that question. One is the financial circumstances of everyone in this room and everyone among those 188 pledged households are unique. And I mean in terms of income, in terms of expenses, in terms of responsibilities, in terms of every single person in that group of 188 has unique financial circumstances. And I want to say we benefit from being a community that welcomes people wherever they are in their financial circumstances. We benefit from that. So that's really important. So the next thing I'd like to remind myself is the financial circumstances of each of us can, and I would say will, change throughout our lives. They might change day to day, they might change year to year, they might change over the decades. So none of us is static. All those 188 households are changing in terms of their financial circumstance. And the last thing I try to keep in my mind when I think about how we do this is we want our liberal religious community to be here and to be thriving 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Okay? Last fall, we talked a lot about sustainability and the importance of this. And so this is a big and important central concept. So, after we remember all these things, we also borrow wisdom from other people. Okay? And the best data we have is that healthy quartiles for a church our size follow this pattern that you're seeing on the screen. 45% of our members in one quartile, 30% of our members in another, 20 or 15 and 10. Okay? And the wisdom is, and the data tells us, that churches that achieve this are more likely to live long and prosper. Okay? Thank you, Spock. So that means that for financial sustainability, we want 45% of us to bring in that first 97,000. And I'm using these numbers based on our pledge budget that we're currently in. Okay, that's 85 pledge households. Okay, that we would want to bring in 1/4. Then we want 30% to bring the next one. That's 56 households. Okay, and 15% to bring the next, and 10% to bring the final one. Okay, so the figures on the right show where we landed after the drive for 2025. You can see. Not 45, but 67.6%. Okay? Before 2025, we were at 71% in that quartile. Okay? So you can see easily from the numbers there that we're overpopulated in quartile 1, and we're underpopulated in the other 3 quartiles. So next slide, please. What we want you to know is that every quartile made progress in this last drive. Pledge households use their pledges to redistribute themselves, okay? How did they do this? We don't know. We don't have the exact answers, but we do know there was a very broad reconsideration of pledges on the part of many households, 109 of them. Okay? That's 58% of our pledging households. And as long as I've been involved in work like this in the church, and I'm going to correct one thing, but it's in a good direction, Elle. In the span of 10 years, we had increased our average by $10.
Oh.
Not $10 a year. In the span of 10 years, we had increased our average by $10.
I stand corrected.
And that's it makes our story even better. Of course, Elle and I hope that part of the reason this happened is because of the learning experiences we offered, because of the 3% Giving Guide, which we'll be revisiting this year. It's the most equitable way to set up this quartile giving. Just so you know, the drop in quartile 1 is a good thing. We want that to drop, okay? And so is the rise in the other 3 quartiles. You have a handout, which I gave you, and on the back of it is something, it's called a deep dive into UCL quartiles from the 2024 pledge drive. I'm not gonna go into all of this. I'm gonna just direct you to the very last line, okay? Which says percent of net increase. So for quartile 1, the increase, the net increase that we got, that $40,000 some that Elle mentioned, 28.5% of that came from households in quartile 1. 24% of that came from households in quartile 2, and so forth. So it was across quartiles that this happened. And this is so happy making. I mean, I'm sorry I'm nerding out here, but this is exactly what helps the financial sustainability in a church. And everybody does their part. If they can, then it helps everyone. So this just means that we are leaning into collectively bringing our financial gifts to meet the needs of the church. And that, you know, that can only get better, as you'll see in just a moment.
Yes. So go ahead and advance that slide. All right. So this slide shows the positive changes in pledging for 2024 and for 2025. Oh, it did advance very briefly for me. Can you, next slide? There we go. Beautiful. Okay. So this slide shows the positive changes in pledging for 2024 and the pledging for 2025. Even though there were fewer households pledging, the pledge amounts increased overall. Again, if we give all we can, we'll have what we need. Lastly, we want to give you a sneak peek of what our targets are for the coming pledge drive to fund next year, 2026.
And by the way, this data and the data on the upcoming slide is all on the other side of your.
Yeah, so you have that information to take home and digest as you will. Okay, go ahead and advance it to the next slide. Okay, so these are the goals for funding 2026 budget year. Notice the percentages that we want for our goal. They're not huge. We're taking this incrementally, okay? But even those small percentages make a huge impact on our budget. So we're encouraging everyone to think strategically during the summer about what sorts of giving you feel you can commit to in the fall. Prepare yourselves for that. Really consider where you will be financially so that you can make good choices. There will be more learning opportunities in the coming months to support you and help you learn more about the financial impact and pieces of our church budget. And if you have any questions, you can always contact me or Christine. We're happy to help and answer questions. We'd like to thank you for your kind attention and your engagement as we continue sowing the seeds of abundance.
name's Jason. I am the treasurer of the Unitarian Church of Lincoln. My report is available for you guys to download and read. I'm not going to read it to you today. I'm not going to do that. That's why we have another town hall. So when you do read it, please, if you have questions or anything, concerns, we'll have that time after today during our town hall, but also next week, which I'll be here too. So feel free to read it. If you have questions or concerns, let me know. But essentially, just kind of highlighting, we're in 2025. Our budget's moving. We're doing things. As you saw from Ellen and Christine, they did a great job of telling where we're at for income. I wanted to highlight, if you go to my first slide here, pledging is so important here at this church. This is what drives our income every year in our income line. Look where we're at from April, where we have are only again 29% of the year when we did our report, and we're already at 50% of what we are expecting to give in our pledge. That's amazing. That's amazing to see. And Ellen and Christine did a great job of explaining some of that. So I'm not going to go over that, but that's just kind of let you know that's what it looks like. Okay? But there's the other side of our budget. Expenses. We spend the money. Let's go and move on to the next slide. So this is where we're at. Now you might see some big ones that already show up, but that's some of the things we already have to pre-spend for the year, such as paying for UU dues and other expenses we do up front of the year. So you'll see that even out already. But through, again, 29% of the year when we did our information on our expenses, we've only spent 24% of what we expected to pay for our budget up to that point of year. So we are being fiscally responsible. Yes. Hey, let's be fiscally responsible. All right. Yeah, this is what business is all about. We talk about money. So I thank you all. Thank you for being a part of this community to do that. I'm going to highlight next thing here. We're going to talk about the CIC. Now, CIC is a fairly new committee. They've been around forever, though. There was a changeover from LUF to now the CIC. The CIC is our Capital Investment Committee. And we've worked really hard these past 6 months. They had a forum. If you didn't go to the forum, they had a forum already this year that talked about who they are and what they do. They made a change in our investments, the gifts we've gotten that have been with Vanguard. We believe because you know what, the economy is a little chaotic right now. Many people may have noticed that. So we noticed that too. So we made a change. The CIC made a change in our investments where it changed how percentage-wise our investments go so we don't have as much at risk anymore. For example, in the month from March to April 2025, the S&P stock index declined 1.1%. Now you may not think that's a lot, but that's a lot. 1.1% by the S&P going down, that's a lot. If you go to the next slide, this is, hopefully you can read all that. This is now our new allocations where we have in stocks 60%, about 50.49%. We're now in a fixed income bond, short-term treasury at 37%, and money market at 13%. Because we made that change from March 2025 to April 2025, we only lost 0.5%. That is big. So if we had stayed where we're at, we may have lost a lot more. I want to thank the CIC for doing that big change. It's a big win for us. Another thing the CIC has been doing, you may have been noticing something in your mailboxes. I hope you do throughout this year. It's our anniversary fund request. Please take a look at that, please. This is a fund that really helps our church a lot. So please partake in that if you're able to. If you have questions about that, please talk to the treasurers or the CIC members what the anniversary fund does. That was part of the forum they also did here earlier this year. We just had a big fundraiser that ended this just as recently, the 2025 auction. Oh my gosh, how many had fun with that? Oh yes, everybody had fun. Well, we have some results. So before we go to that next slide, I'm gonna give us some information here. We had let's see, 99, okay, let's see, I'm just leaving my notes here real quick. 99 people from our congregation participated. 9 church committees and groups donated this item. Those are increases from what we had last year. Jean and Levon Hanlon solicited over 75 donations from outside sources for the raffle. That's great. One big increase, though, was Tasty Treats. Last year, 45 we had Tasty Treats, but this year, we had over 100. What an amazing job we did for fundraising. And this is what we have. Let's go move to the next slide if we could, please. 2024, $12,078. 2025, well, it was actually $13,132.30. So there it is. We made an increase. And this is great news. So thank you so much. Karen and Barbara, I don't know if Barbara's here, but she may be online. Thank you so much for leading this fundraiser, our 2025 auction. Look forward to fall. We have another fundraiser coming up. One of the things we've been working on gifts acceptance policy. It is downloaded, available for you guys to look at. Please, the finance team, the board of trustees worked really hard at making this change. It is a big one. And so please take time to look at that policy that we made change. Another thing we did here with the program council, the board, and the CIC is to create a pathway for requests that come from the program council committees to get funded for things like what we just recently said. You see the beautiful playground area with the new over shade department and the new ones. I want to thank Michael Stratman, Heather Hellhouse for going through that whole process. And now we also have something that the grounds committee or building committee has worked on. We approved a hearing loop. Harry Heifer, thank you so much for working so hard on that.
Kathy Disney and Kurt Donaldson for putting up the shade.
Kathy and Kurt for putting that up. But we now have a pathway that we're going to work through to make sure the requests needed for the church that come in appropriately through program council to the board and the CIC for making sure we have the money to fund those projects. So make sure you work with your program council committees, be a part of that process. I want to announce a very special thing here. This is my last time being treasurer. Oh, I'm done. Yes, I am all done. There's only opportunity. Yeah, absolutely. When one door closes, we have no one coming. So Karen Heifer is now going to be the treasurer starting June. Thank you so much. Gee, that's the hard process. The board approved that this last meeting, but we have a new vice treasurer. Elisa Hawk, if you can please stand up. She is our new vice treasurer. She is going to be doing a 2-term vice treasurer and a 2-term treasurer once her vice treasury process begins. So we are moving. We are chugging along. But let me take a moment here to thank people. It's been 3 years that I've been doing this. Vice treasurer for 1 year and 2 years as treasurer. I didn't do this alone. I did this with everyone here. So thank you so much for being so supportive of me. This is my first time ever in my life to be a part of a board. And when Oscar Sinclair tapped me on the shoulder way over there, 4 years ago almost, and says, we need someone to be a treasurer. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what the hell that's going to be like. I prayed on it, I thought about it, and I accepted that position. I want to thank Mandy Bonnie Hierman, who was the treasurer when we started up. She was a great force to work with and help learn. I want to thank the past presidents and presidents of the board who helped me live into this role, that led me through this whole process. I want to thank for the pastors that we had, Oscar Sinclair and AJ, for helping also lead and support me through this process. I want to thank the staff. The staff, you don't know how much the staff works on the financial process, and the Dazzlers who will also help them. Thank you so much for what they do for the financial part of the committee. The board of trustees to help me and listen to me babble on about money. I appreciate all that. And you as the congregation, you've challenged me, you've asked great questions, you've kept me on my toes, and helped me make to where we are transparent about our financials, and that we know where we're at. So Karen, I'm going to be handing this off to you. I'm so glad you're here and you're going to be helpful with this. The future of our church looks so much brighter with all the hard work at what our community is doing. I hope you all feel that. I'll be around, of course. I'm not leaving the church, of course. I'm here to help and work in other ministries that we have here that I can't wait to start. So I'm so ever grateful to be part of this community. I cannot wait to see what we all do next. Thank you so much. Oh, wait, go ahead. Harry, you have a question? I know we have question and answer, but is it going to be quick, or what would you like to ask? He's got it. Go on.
Harry Hafer. Can we go back 4 slides to the individual, that's right there. Could you explain the supplemental category and the high expenses? What kinds of things does supplemental
That's
cover?
UU dues.
I'm sorry.
Justice and
Oh, justice in action. I'm sorry. Justice in action. Justice in action. Justice. Yeah. Let me.
The national dues?
Yeah. No. The dues are actually in finance activities. Is that right? I can't remember where that's at, but I can't off the top of my head. But Justice. Go ahead, Karen.
No, the big jump for that month, which this represents, is that we paid our dues to our Justice in Action contribute of $4,000. That's why that.
Yeah, that's a low line because that's pretty much Justice in Action.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And you'll notice if you ever talk, obviously the understaffed compensation will be higher next month because we've hired 3 new people. And so we'll have more staff expenses also.
In the budget line for supplemental expense is essentially Justice in Action. So that is exact. That's what we're seeing.
And just as a side note, as far as we want to keep those pledges going up as far as contributing, and that's why your quarterly statements are your reminders that, oh, I pledged this, so I better, if you have not, if you haven't started payment on your pledges, that's a reminder that we don't want to end up in August or September and find that we're kind of becoming short of our pledge, the one where we get increased, our income would not look as well as it does right now. So please pay attention to those quarterly statements.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm done. Can we hold questions until there's a part in our thing for questions and answers? So please hold your questions till we get to that section. Harry, I appreciate your question, but let's go ahead and move forward.
Hello, my name is Joanne Lanning. My pronouns are she and her. And according to our church bylaws, the task of the nomination committee is to recruit candidates for leadership positions for the church to be elected by the congregation. The nomination committee includes Erica Berkey Rios, Shelley Fowler, Elle Stratman, and me. As chair of the nomination committee, it's my job to introduce the slate of Board of Trustee candidates this morning. Their bios and statements will be released in the next issue of the Beacon, so you can read those more thoroughly. But this morning, I would like to ask the candidates to say a few words about themselves. I'm going to speak for Jeannie Brooks. She's unable to join us after church because she works at 11:30 on Sundays. So she scoots right out of here after services. She has been a member of the church since 2017 and is the chair of the Memorial Reception Committee. She participates in Justice in Action, and according to the Clifton Strength Finder, she is an includer. And that means she's aware of those who may feel left out and try to include them. She calls herself an introvert. Jeannie has been a professional theater and film costumer for more than 30 years. She likes biking, camping, listening to live music, reading, and lifelong learning. I might add that she grew up in the church, and her parents were, you may have to help me, I think it was Ralph and Marlette, yes. So, we'll also hear from Pam Wakeman and Willie Woolridge, who are here. So Pam, why don't you start, and then Willie follow up. Thank you very much.
Both are on. Okay. Pick the tall one.
Yeah, I've
lost some height, so I don't think of myself as tall anymore. I'm Pam Wakeman. My pronouns are she and her. And, you know, when I did the math, I've been a member here for a little over 26 years, I guess. And yet, in some ways, I feel like I'm a new person. Maybe that's because there's so many opportunities to do many different things within the church and for the church. I guess I agreed to be on the board because I feel like it's almost an obligation that as a member of the church, I have to be willing to walk the walk. And that means being a participant and helping for the growth and the health of the church. When I started figuring out the things that I've done, most of it's just been because it was fun, you know? like 6300 Club, or helping when Oscar had his ordination, parking cars. I didn't actually do the valet service, but, you know, trying to direct people. 6300, oh boy, such good food and good times. I guess the longest running thing that I did was I was on the LGBTQ Welcoming Congregation Committee for probably over 20 years, and that time went fast, and of course we've seen a lot of changes, but I think it's going in a good direction again. You see me knit, I like helping hands. I have made coffee, but I don't drink it, so I don't volunteer to do it. I don't like to serve people things that I don't know how it turned out. Let's see, auction, I usually donate, and my obligation is also to buy, and I do that very well, I think. There's Open Circles that I've been co-leader and leader of, off and on, Justice in Action. We used to have a group called Women's Federation. Maybe some of you remember that. It was a long time ago. I was a member and leader, co-leader. I guess the other thing is I'm on the membership committee, and that's kind of the last thing that I've gotten involved with among the others. So if you have questions or want to get to know me, that would be nice, but you all look pretty familiar, so thank you.
Hi, I'm Wooly.
Yes, you are.
My name is Charles Alfred Wooldridge II. So Wooly doesn't come from the beard. I had the name long before I had a beard. I am a newbie. I've only been here a little over a year, I think. But I really look forward to helping helping the church. But I'm pretty selfish. I'm really looking forward to learning. That's the main reason I'd like to be part of the board, is I'd like to learn, and I'd like to learn how I can help. I didn't know exactly what to fill out or what to say. The stuff I filled out, now I look at it, it's all professional stuff. I've been, I worked at Whitehall. Does anybody familiar with Whitehall? I retired from Whitehall. I worked there for 35 years. I started out as a direct care staff, then became a cottage supervisor, then I was a trainer, and then I was a therapist, a family therapist, and then I became a campus manager and treatment team leader. So in the course of my professional development, I've had a lot of training in reaching consensus. I also am on a number of other boards, so I'm usually a pretty good board member. However, I want to warn everybody that sometimes I raise questions that raise hackles. But I want to let you know that I only do that for the benefit of the organization. I question things. Coming to this church it's really amazing, because I've had quite a long spiritual journey. When I was about 10 years old, I brought my parents to church. That was the Ebenezer Reformed German church. They built their own brick road to go to the church, and they were all German families. They had even sermons in German, and they were very much fundamentalist, and we sang all those old hymns. I still know them by heart. And then from there, then we went to an evangelical free church. But then I found drugs, and I remember as a teenager smoking pot and drinking beer and telling somebody, well, how could you question whether there's a God or not when you look up at those stars and you tell me where they end? I've always questioned, that question's always amazed me. When I look up at the heavens at night and there's no end, I'm not saying there's a God, I don't know, but there's a higher power somewhere, whether it's the universe, whether it's the community, or whether it's God. I don't know. But then I had a number of other spiritual experiences. My wife and I travel, and I believe that travel is one of the best ways to bring about world peace. I think it was Mark Twain that said, travel is the antidote for, was it prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. So we've done a lot of traveling. I've been blessed, both of us have been blessed by a shamanic leader. We've been to the most bizarre Catholic church in the world, in Latin America. But I really found my spirituality in Al-Anon. I've been a grateful member of Al-Anon for over 25 years now. And for those of you that don't know, Al-Anon isn't for alcoholics, it's for friends and families of alcoholics. I'm not an alcoholic, but I don't drink because I went through a couple of very traumatic relationships with people that did. And so I'm really looking forward to joining the board, and I look forward to it. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I just look forward to that. So thank you.
Good morning. My name is Michael Stratton, a member of your Board of Trustees, and I'm here to talk to you about the Share the Plate. Once a year at our spring congregational meeting, our members vote for 10 local organizations out of 3 or 4 dozen that have been nominated that will receive all designated checks and online text donations as our part of one service a month during the church year. When we are in person, this includes all loose cash in the offering plates. In March and April, we ask members and friends to nominate local organizations that are doing good work in our community on a variety of issues. You have received a link to the descriptions of all of these organizations. I will read the names, but not the descriptions. I'd like to get out of here before 3 o'clock. So please review that if you have any questions. These are the 2025-26 Share the Plate nominations in the order they were received. Community Crops, I've Got a Name, The Gathering Place, Out Nebraska, Bridges to Hope, Brave Bee Child Advocacy Center, FoodNet, the Soldago Conservancy, Fitting Futures White Cane Foundation, KZUM Community Radio, Planned Parenthood of the Heartland, Morning Hope, ACLU of Nebraska, ARC of Lincoln, Center for Legal Immigration Assistance, the Echo Collective, Lincoln Literacy, Willie's Underwear Project, Big Gumdrop Outdoors, NAACP Lincoln Branch, the Malone Center, Fresh Start Home for Women, Little Free Pantries of Lincoln, the Food Bank of Lincoln, Indian Center, El Centro de las Americas, Lark Song Writers Palace, Angels Theater Company, Roots of Justice Project, Voices of Hope, Blue Heron Tiospaye, Lincoln Hygiene Network, Civic Nebraska, Camp Bold, and the Oto Missouri Educational Fund. Again, please review the information on each of these as we will be voting on our selected ones during the congregational meeting. 10 of them, yes, yep, during the congregational meeting in 2 weeks. Thank you.
That's really an amazing list. So are Allison, excuse me, Allison and Leslie here? Come on up, Leslie. So the Board of Trustees has nominated the following church members to form the ministerial search team. These 7 individuals will be presented for a vote at the congregational meeting on June 8th. The selection process for these volunteers was comprehensive and involved input from the entire membership. Please note that your vote will be for the entire slate of nominees. The process by which this group was assembled will be discussed now. So we also want to clarify that self-nominations or nominations from the floor are not part of this process. But Allison Starr and Leslie Ryan are up here with me because we were the task force, the board task force that called all the nominees that were collected from the first round of calls. So if that makes sense, we called everybody that we could reach in the congregation, accepted nominees. Some people didn't even know they were nominated, but somebody thought they would be great for the search team. And then we started calling, and these were there were how many? There were these 7. There were 10 people who said yes out of all the people that we called. So, and this was the best team we thought we could put together from those people who said they were willing to serve. So, do I have it right? Anything else you two want to add? No. Yeah.
We're very lucky because we get, well, all UU churches get this guidebook from the UUA, and it has really specific information about how to go about this process, because a lot of congregations find themselves in this place of like, what do we do now? And so we followed that very, very much to, as it relates to our congregation, I think, very well. So proud of that.
So if you're in the room and you're on that committee, would you just stand and be recognized, please? So these are the people, and there's a couple more who were not able to be with us today, but their bios are in the link that you received from the office yesterday. So let's give them a round of applause. So I think it's a great time to take questions about the ministerial search team, because that's one of the biggest things that we've done this year as a board. And this became our focus probably in February, so we've been working on it since then. Does anybody have any questions? Do you notice we don't have settled ministerial search in the name of this search team? We may do a whole search for a year and not find us a person who's willing to have an open-ended relationship with us, but they may be willing to have a limited contract. So that's the way the world is going right now. People want to know, people want to only commit for a certain amount of time. So we may do a whole search and then end up with a contract minister, and that's fine. We have a contract actually with the settled minister. It just doesn't have an end date on it. So, Carol?
I don't have a question, but I'd like to just make a comment.
Mm-hmm.
I was disappointed, and I was told that there was no way to change it because it had to be people that were nominated and agreed to do it. There are no men on the search committee, and there are no people anywhere near my age. I mean, I understand everybody can't be as old as I am. Deb Hope, I think, is the oldest one. Excuse me. Deb Hope is the oldest one on the committee, and there's
She's
a
shaking her
big gap between Deb and I age-wise.
Yes. Yes, we understand there are no men on this committee. we, or at least male perspective on this committee. We will seek that male perspective as we hold our cottage meetings. We only had one male in our whole congregation who agreed to be on the team. And when we put the team together, it seemed like this was the balance that we could work with best. It actually tells us in the settlement book what are the skills or strengths that you need to cover in a search team. So we actually had lots of conversations about this. We actually talked to the last search team. We took their advice when we began this process. And yeah, we have agonized over this. So this was the balanced team that we could come up with. So thanks, Carol. I think Betsy and then Wendy.
Betsy, sorry.
Oh.
Well, I was just the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's people online who can't hear you, so Karen's bringing the microphone over.
Okay. I was thinking like Carol, I told my husband, geez, there's no guy there. I'm a feminist, so I'm all for women, but that doesn't seem like a balance, but I understand and am very happy that you did all the work that you did. And I also don't have anybody young, but that was not my original thought.
So that male perspective, we will go out, this team will go out of its way to get feedback. Wendy?
No, Wendy.
Oh. Oh, and I don't know, is anybody watching online? Oh, Wendy is, okay.
There's 6, I think, last I looked, 6.
Oh, there's 6 questions online?
There's a
Will you
comment
guys-
from Sandra Washington that I would like to make sure people are able to understand. It says, "Good morning. I couldn't join in person today, but have been watching on YouTube. I have been a friend of the church for 25 plus years and a member for the past 10 years. I am ready to be active again." And she comments that she is actually older than Deb Hope.
Thanks,
We
Sandra.
did not select for age when we tried to pull this together.
Elisa will be after we go through the online comments. We'll come around in a minute.
We're trying to find the...
Yeah, we're getting the, why don't we go to Elisa while we're waiting for the online comments, and then we'll jump over here.
Thanks for your consideration about, oh, there's not a man in this. I bet there are tons of times when it was all men and nobody really mattered. So I think it's okay to have an all women. Understanding we're going to be respectful and look for the impact. So I think it's fine.
Thanks, Elisa. Sandra and then Erica. Hold on, Sandra. Karen's bringing a microphone over.
Yes, I want to know if you're videotaping these interviews so that we could all see the interviews.
Which interviews are you talking about?
Minister, I guess, or whatever.
If you get candidates and you interviews.
Yeah, that will happen in March through May of next year.
So we could all see these.
Yeah, well, this team.
I don't think that is. I
No,
don't
that-
think that that's the case because there's a privacy concern there, as it would be with any hiring process.
But
You
this,
wouldn't-
yeah, go ahead, keep going.
Oh,
Sorry.
so as with any organization, if you're doing a hiring process, you don't make interviews available to the general public, and so that wouldn't be different from a normal hiring process.
Yeah, we'll be hearing a lot about what that team is doing. They're going to keep us informed as they move through the process. Leslie?
Now, Allison's made the point already that these candidates are employed elsewhere at times, so that's not something they necessarily want to see out on the internet.
Yeah.
Additionally, we will. Only the committee will know the names of the candidates, or I guess identifying information, just as it was with the interim ministerial search committee.
Erica Berkey, Rios, she, her. I want to thank the board and thank the nomination committee and the three of you for all the work that you put in. I know it was a big, lot of hours. It's just a comment on process. And I think this probably doesn't impact very many people, but as a person who did say yes, I sat and waited and heard nothing at any point until the Friday e-blast went out. And it would have been maybe considerate to communicate with the people who had said yes and expressed interest, that they had not been selected prior to that list coming out.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. Becky?
I just was wondering if you can, off the top of your heads, I mean, I know you had a list, but give us an example of the skills that were asked for.
I wish I had brought the settlement handbook with me.
I've got like 3 of them that I can remember. Works well with others, is a good listener, knows about the history of the church.
Or is willing to learn.
Not just the good stuff, but also the places where we have not done as well.
Doesn't have an axe to grind.
That was another one.
Is that page, what page was that, 37?
I think 37.
Yeah.
Diverse viewpoints.
Diverse viewpoints.
Yeah.
We were specifically told from the handbook not to pick people based on their demographics.
And it wasn't a popularity contest.
Mm-hmm.
We'll come to you in a minute. Jason's looking up the settlement handbook, page
Thank you,
37.
Thank you so much. The search team should represent the entire congregation. The search team should be trusted by the congregation. The search team should be in touch with the changing nature of the congregation. The search team should be responsible for developing a good process for itself, the congregation, and Unitarian Universalism. And then there's a part later on, I think. Oh, up here. So who in the congregation works well with others and listens well? Who can represent and serve the whole congregation well, including looking out for the needs of children and not just a piece or faction of the congregation? Who knows or can learn the history and culture of the congregation, whether a member of long-standing or relatively new? Who can use this history proactively instead of reactively on behalf of the congregation? Who has been and or is active in the congregation and has demonstrated both responsible participation and responsible leadership? And then after a high salary and desirable geography, the most attractive quality a congregation can have is self-awareness. Awareness of strengths and challenges, what the congregation is like at its best and at its worst, as well as on an average day. Who would be able to know and relate all this to potential candidates?
That's our guidance. Harry, and then Christine.
Harry Hafer. It is unfortunate either more men that were maybe mentioned did not agree or were interested, or who knows what goes into that. Everyone's personal lives and decisions. Is there felt, or is it even mentioned, and I'm sure the UUA mentioned diversity and whatever, the very aspects of diversity for a community like this, but is it felt that there might be candidates that would look at it with a question in mind? I mean, looking back at the last 2 search committees, we had a pretty even balance of men and women of various backgrounds and ages and what have you. I just wonder if there might be a question at all, wondering about that by a possible candidate.
The committee will keep us appraised of that. They probably will. Just like they look at our website, you know.
You and I need to talk about that, to update the piece on that.
Okay.
I want to just comment, I guess, as a person who didn't make the cut for another different ministerial search committee. I just want to say, as a writer, I look at it exactly the way I look at submitting writing, which is, it is not because your writing was bad
It's not because you didn't, you know, you just read this long list of criteria. It's not because you don't have those qualities.
Right.
It's really sometimes, for me as a poet, it's we already have 4 poems that deal with the very same thing. And yours is beautiful, but we already have what we need in that area. So I just want to say, as I look, and I've been around here a long time, so lots of different search committees over the years, and I have just great respect for this process, and that we, to respond a little bit to what Sandra was saying, we literally are placing our complete faith in this group of people to represent all the things we would hope would be represented. And they go through this process in a fairly cloistered fashion. And so that's not always an easy thing to carry in my view, all the meetings and the time and the confidentiality and all those pieces. So I just want to say I think it's a good process, and I wouldn't want anyone who was among those who didn't end up on this list to think that they were inadequate in some way. That's really not how that works. And I came to understand that as someone who had been in that same position. So, anyway.
And we need many leaders in our church. I mean, we had to find a balance of how to keep us moving forward, as well as looking for our next minister. Let's take, we're already past an hour, so Harry, do you want to ask yours? And then Jackie had a question over here, and Erica has another question. So let's take those 3, and while Karen's moving. Yeah.
My question is more about the finances.
Yep. Jason, you want to hop up?
My question is more about the finances. Oh, my name is Jackie, and my pronouns are she and her. My question is, do our investments include military, environmental destruction, racist, and other unethical investments?
No, it does not. The CIC committee chose the Vanguard Socially Responsible Fund. It does have lists all that. Now, one thing I failed to mention, one of the stock in that fund is Tesla. And so we're right now in the process of finishing up a letter to send to the fund manager to say that Tesla should be looked at as being removed from this fund, as we believe the leadership of that company does not follow the values of what they ask for the values of that fund. So we, as the CIC, who helps make sure the funds are managed correctly, they are the ones going to be signing the letter, and we're sending it to the fund manager, who actually manages the fund at Vanguard, to let us know our displeasure of having Tesla in this fund. Go for it.
So I'm particularly concerned about our investment regarding military.
That is something she's asked a question about military funding inside that those companies are not in that fund. If you want a list of what all the stocks are built inside that fund, I can always provide you that information. It is pretty transparent in Vanguard.
As we're waiting for Erica's question or statement, could I have everybody who's on the board just stand up? So if after this meeting you have any questions or concerns, these are the people that you should go to directly, right? So all of these folks can help you better understand the process if that's where your question is, or talk to you about the finances. We have worked really hard this year to try to be as transparent and have the best communication possible. So, except for, I'm so sorry about Erica's earlier statement. So, look, can we give these people a round of applause? And Wooly, Pam, and Jeannie will be joining that group as Peg, I, and Allison are leaving the board this next month.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you, Sandra. Thank you. Erica?
For something new with Share the Plate, is that there's a color-coded key. We had more, like 35 organizations that were nominated, which is, I believe, more than we've ever had in at least the last 6 years. If you look at the list, if it's in black, we have given to them, and it will show you how many times in the last 6 years we gave to them in parentheses. So out of the last 6. So it might say, whatever, 2, 5, 6. There are blue ones, and the blue means that this organization was nominated for the very first time. And the green ones, no, oh shoot, I don't have it in front of me. Anybody, no, she's on here. The blue ones are new. Oh my gosh. Anyway, my point is, there's
actually listed at
yes,
in that
there is
section.
more information about the organizations than there usually has been in the past. So I hope that is helpful to you.
And thanks, Erica, for making that happen. That was great. Yeah, it's on the website under governance. The link is there if you can't find the e-blast. So we'll take one more question, and then we're going to move to the closing words.
I'm just going to say real quickly, I hope people really look at those brand new ones because it's time for a change.
Harry Hafer, again. I have, okay, just throw a couple of these maybe don't need an answer, and I know that's in the thought process, but obviously the Ministerial Search Committee is going to need a budget line sooner than later, which probably means still funding for this year to things get started off by fall.
There's a $1,500 coaching fee that will cover this year, and then the rest of the search committee budget is in next year's budget. That will have a line.
And then, again, I'm sure it'll happen. It happened with the last 2 searches that there'll be some sort of congregational survey that will eventually come out to judge, measure people's who knows what they'll come up with for questions. Deb Hope does a good job on that. Not to throw her under the bus. Just because I know I've worked with her before on that. So a policy was mentioned, though, for the CIC money or committees to go through the program council for special project funding. So what is the policy, though, if a bequeathment, someone bequeaths money to the church through a will or whatever, and there's nothing that designates for how that money should be used? What's the process procedure for that money and how it's going to be spent or whatever?
So we just finished the gift acceptance and disposition policy that's now on the governance page, right? We're working on the intake form. So on the intake form is a box that you can complete.
Yeah, it's a box. It's going to have a way for you to go ahead and state if you're giving money to the church, if you're going to have it restricted for a certain use or unrestricted. But based on the gift acceptance policy, we recommend that if you're going to give to the church, that you make it unrestricted. And that's what we prefer. But if the giver who's giving a gift is giving a gift that is going to be restricted for a certain thing, we will honor that process.
Or
unrestricted, though, how does that being known to committees or that it's available money for whatever they might like to put in money for?
Sure. So that's a great question. How do committees know about that? Well, we will be. My understanding is it goes through the board process and it does get approved. It's going to the minutes of the board, and so that should be trickling down or going to program council report that there's new money into the account. We have to be transparent in that process. This is a new process. We're still going to be working it throughout. What you've done for your hearing loop, Harry, that helped us a lot. I mean, that because we know we're not perfect in that process. And so we're going to continue to work on that process to make it more transparent. So the ideas you're providing today is going to help us for the future.
That process has actually been in place for a long time.
But it's been confusing.
It's just that it's been confusing and there hasn't been a lot of communication to the committees. So every committee in the program council should ask for what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Plus their budget line items
will
for the
they
budget.
Will they get it all? That's where the decision lies. But the committee gets the idea, the committee takes it to their cluster, The cluster discusses it and said, is this the highest priority we're going to ask to the board to approve at this moment, right? So, but if it's in the budget, we vote on that in November, right? But the committee should ask for what they want and not say, oh, there isn't any money for this. The only way we're going to grow is if the committees move their ideas forward. So the focus is on the committees. The committees can't expect the board to read their minds.
And that's also good for the budget. For as we go for budget requests here in the fall, I really just want to stress to the committees, to the program council, write up a good note of what you are expecting to spend, or if you're wanting to increase your budget line items, to tell us why. Because when we sit in the room, we don't understand why you requested another $10,000 to add to your budget, or maybe it's $100. We have to take that into consideration. If you didn't give me an explanation, but you know, social justice gave us a good explanation, we're going to more focus on social justice because they gave us a good explanation. The people in the board of trustees and how they make their decisions on the budget based on information by what the committees provide information about. So I highly, highly encourage you, go back to your committees, talk about money. It's something that we need to be not afraid of in our church, to talk about the money, talk about our budget requests. And if there's a project, that's why we have a process to do. We're not like we are working through that process to making sure our money is equitable to everyone here in this church. That is what we try our best to do.
So go away today and think about all the questions that might not have been asked, because we have another town hall next Sunday. So that's the value of having 2 town halls. That gives us the freedom when we have a congregational meeting not to discuss how the sausage is made, but to vote on the sausage, right? And I love sausage. So anyway. I'm going to close the questions and concerns period, invite Mary Kay up here for our closing words, and our chalice, we'll blow the chalice out. Thank you all so much for being here today. You raise a lot of wonderful questions, and the only way we grow as a community is to hear each other's questions and work through them. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Mary Kay.
Our closing words are by Emily Richards. Our work has just begun. Please take a moment to become present, to pause, and to notice how you are in this moment. Our work today is at an end, and our work has just begun. The work of holding one another in this community in love. The work of trusting that we are on the right path. The work of believing that what connects us is stronger than what separates us. The work of engaging in that which makes us whole. The work of deeper understanding and commitment. The work of letting go of that which does not serve us. The work of radical inclusion, the work of collective liberation, the work of this beloved community. A beloved community of which we are all a part. A place where we are welcomed, respected, valued, and cherished. A place where we belong. Go in peace, amen, and blessed be.